He's onside. It's Andy Campbell. It's in. Campbell comes off the bench to be a hero, a superhero.
To be joined by the former Middlesbrough and Cardiff City striker Andy Campbell. How are you, Andy?
I'm good, thanks, mate. Yeah, nice to be on.
Thank you, brilliant. So, just wondering how you're coping with lockdown at the moment, how that's all going.
I'm glad it's eased a little bit. It was getting a little bit tedious, a little bit boring. It's it's lovely to spend time with the family, and I had a baby on April the 1st, so it was obviously a blessing in disguise from that point of view. But I'm all routine, I'm all normality, and I just like to just be in a routine. You know, some days I wasn't probably same as everyone else. I hope it's the same as everyone else. I wasn't getting dressed during the day because I just thought, well, what's the point? And I was getting a little bit. I probably would use the word depressed. I just thought I didn't know what day it was, and weekends obviously weren't something that you look forward to anymore. And
Exactly.
it was just a little bit just disappointing, you know. But I'm glad now we can get back a little bit normality. We can start to see a bubble of family and friends, and as long as it's safe. And yeah, it's just something that I just hope never has to happen again.
It's very disjointing, isn't it? Sort of everything's sort of out of place, and it's just trying to get back to normality, as I think we all are soon in the next couple of weeks or months.
Yeah, well, it's affected people in different ways as well, and you know what I mean, mental health and probably obesity, and you know what I mean, and hopefully people come out of it with positive ideas and understanding, and just take positives out of it.
Yeah.
You know, like family and lifestyle, and you know what I mean, and certain things what they haven't been able to do, you know what I mean, and put them into realistic options and think are they as important as other things in life, you know what I mean? So for me, I've certainly had a different outlook and probably be living my life a little bit different after it's all gone away, hopefully.
Brilliant. Yeah. Well, I'd like to start by just asking about your career. Starting off, sort of, you were born and raised in Middlesbrough, and what was it like as a kid, rising through that, sort of from school up to sort of joining as a youth team player at Middlesbrough?
Yeah, well, as I say, I was very lucky, very fortunate that mum and dad worked really hard, and you know what I mean, we were born in Stockton. You know what I mean, it was tough upbringing, but obviously mum and dad worked really hard, and we ended up moving to Martin, and we had a really good life. You know, mum and dad put everything on for me and my brother, which made life really easy and give us an opportunity in life. You know, it's you know what I mean, my brother was a professional footballer before I was, and so he was 2 years older than me, Neil. So I had an ideal opportunity to see what my progression would be if I was going to go down that route. And every time I see Neil making his debut or sign professional forms or sign YCS forms before I did, it was nice because I knew exactly what was coming. I knew exactly, you know what I mean, what was going to be on the table, and yeah, it was a good insight really to where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do.
So you sort of started everything off when you were able to sort of follow it in his footsteps, so to speak.
Yeah, basically, yeah. You know, we did everything together. We started at Martin Juniors together because they obviously didn't have individual teams at the time, so we trained, and there was no real competitive games. And when they did start being competitive, then he obviously progressed on and stayed with his age group, and I started a couple of years later because obviously there wasn't things at certain age group. We had to wait till certain things were put in place, and yeah, so it was basically just to follow in his footsteps and trying to emulate and copy what he'd done, and lucky enough I was able to copy what he did.
Brilliant. And what was it like signing sort of forms for Middlesbrough? So I assume you supported Middlesbrough as a child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I watched all the games at Essen Park with my dad. We went away games as well, and I was lucky enough to sign schoolboy forms at 14. So I signed a 2-year contract at 14, which saw me through till I left school, and then I was in a little bit of a limbo. You know, I'd been to Southampton, and obviously there was other clubs in the area who were offering contracts, and you know, I mean, I wanted to stay at Middlesbrough, but you know, I mean, obviously wanted the contract offer, and at the time there was nothing concrete, and I left school, and probably 2 or 3 weeks before I was due to start my YCS, Middlesbrough and Romborn offered me a 2-year YCS, which I jumped upon, and I was so pleased to be given the opportunity at my hometown club, a club that I supported, a club that I always had a dream to play for, and I was so happy to go in. You know, I knew what was in front of me, as in. That, you know, the first 2 years were going to be tough. We had to do jobs, you know what I mean? It was long days, long hours, long weekends, not many days off. So I knew exactly what I was looking forward to, and so happy to do it, you know, because obviously I'd watched Middlesbrough play at Essen Park, and obviously the team had moved to the new stadium, so we used Essen Park as a training ground. So it was brilliant for me, really.
that was sort of at the time where they'd moved from Ayresome Park, and it was all of the excitement of moving up to the Riverside at the time, and there was the new squad being built, and it looked sort of like a promising time for Middlesbrough, sort of exciting times, and you had like Ravanelli and Janina Emerson all sort of playing at that sort of time, wasn't it? Or just sort of couple of that year before us.
Yeah, so for me, moving to the new ground was so exciting. It was obviously a new era coming into the club. I was obviously a little bit disappointed as well, and the reason I'll say that is because I always had a dream about playing at Ayresome Park. I always had a dream of scoring at Ayresome Park, and from my dad more than anything, that he used to take me to all the games, and we'd watch all the games really carefully. And I'd always said to him one day that I'm gonna score here, and didn't get the opportunity to play there, so it was quite disappointing. But the club was moving in a different era, and if they didn't move, then I wouldn't have had the opportunity to do what I did and play at the Riverside, which gave him so much joy anyway. So I would never complain, and it was such an exciting time for me and my family to support a club which had moved to a new stadium, was signing, like you say, Janino first, and then obviously Nick Barmby, and then Ravanelli and Emerson and Boxic and Gianluca Festa and Paul Merson, and the names are endless. And any Middlesbrough fan who's on at the kind of era that I'm in, and similar age to me, who's watched all them people come through, it's just an unbelievable roller coaster being a fan. All the things what are upsetting, and we're all a bit disgruntled over what's happening now. We've had the good times and we've had the bad, and it's just the ups and downs of being a football fan, and especially I'd say probably especially being a Borough fan. It's just you get used to it,
Yeah, exactly. It was that time. I remember as I was about 9 or 10 at the time when it was the move from Ayresome Park across to the Riverside, and that team were exciting to watch. You had, like you say, Nick Barmby and the other professional sort of international quality as well that were coming to the club, where before you were sort of going up and down between the Premiership and the First Division, and that sort of input from sort of Steve Gibson he was financially helping the club at the time, wasn't he? And he was instrumental in the move.
Oh, he was key. Steve's. It really upsets me and angers me when I hear people bad mouthing him and saying he's taking the club as far as he can, because forget if he has done that, then so be it. He's earned the right for me to take that club for the rest of his life until the day he dies. Because if it wasn't for Steve Gibson, Middlesbrough Football Club would not be a football club. He took them out of when they got locked out of Ayresome Park. He brought them back to Ayresome Park. He's took them to the Riverside. He's took them to Carling Cup win. He's took them to UEFA Cup. He's bought all these players. He's subsidised the football club for years and years and years and years and years. And he's just an absolute legend, an absolute hero of this town and for the football club. And he deserves all the accolades, but keeps himself out there, the limelight. And it's just the testimony to the man and to the businessman and to the Middlesbrough football fan. That he's one of us. He's one of us, and he deserves every accolade he gets.
Yeah, of course. I think he was he was one of those chairmen at the time, a bit like Matthew Harding, who was at Chelsea, where they were a fan of the club as well as a businessman, and he had the best interest of the club and fans at heart, really, didn't he? As well as wanting to make money and do well from sort of himself, but he really wanted. It was the club that he was interested in first and foremost, I'd say.
I totally agree. Matthew Harding's exactly the same as Steve. That any football fan gets to own their club, which is supported as a boy. They go the extra mile. They try to put things in place, and so yes, exactly the same. Chelsea wouldn't be anything without Matthew Harding. He put all these things in place, and unfortunately lost his life after a game in a horrific air crash. Steve's a legend, and he go down in folklore at Middlesbrough, and if he ever just does decide to sell, then he's doing it for the right reasons. And I don't ever believe he will. That he's a lovely fella, and he's got the best interest of the club at heart.
Indeed. So talk through your debut. Your you start your first debut. First team debut was it at home to Sheffield Wednesday? Yeah. It
was on Good Friday in April. I was just a few days off shy of being 17, so I was 16, and so many 100 days, and it was great. And the manager told me I was on the bench, and it was just one of those just heart and mouth moments that I just thought, has he really just said that? And you know what I mean? So I was very nervous, got myself, tried to enjoy as much best I can, because being on the bench, yes, but I never really dreamed I was going to come on. And the way the game was going, Chris Feastone obviously made his debut as well. He played it from Jan Fjordsoft. Obviously, Jan scored 2, Chrissy scored 1. I came on at 3-1, and I loved it. 8 minutes, I think I got, and it was just fantastic. I got as many touches as I could, tried to play with a smile on my face, tried to enjoy it. Knew my friends and family were there, and it was just an amazing thing for me and for my family. It was brilliant, and you know what I mean. Obviously, nobody can ever take that away. And to do it at the first season at the Riverside was open was great, and to obviously win the game as well was just magical. And obviously got an opportunity to make my full debut a few weeks later, which was obviously an unbelievable thing again.
That was at Anfield, was it, against Liverpool?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was Ian Rush's last game at Anfield, so it made it a little bit more special. I didn't have a shirt, so I didn't have a number on my back, so obviously it was a bit touch and go that I was going to make my debut in the end. But the manager managed to get me a shirt from the crowd with no name and number on the back in exchange for his own. So obviously a story to tell as well, which gets told quite a lot. But no, it was great. Neil Ruddock marked me. I think I played about 75 minutes and came off at 0-0. I really enjoyed the game. It was a really good learning curve for myself. Got beat 1-0. I think Stan Collymore scored the winner, but it was just a great occasion. You know what I mean? That this is an Anfield sign as you're walking down the tunnel, and the Cop and Ian Rush's last game. We did a guard of honour for him, and it was just it was great. I watched the video a couple of times, and it's very surreal watching games when you're involved in it, and especially when you're a young kid, especially when you're going into an adult, and it's. But yeah, another thing that no one can ever take away. That was one of those things that manager gave me an opportunity, and I'll always be eternally grateful for Bryan Robson and the things he did for me.
Because you were about 16, 17 at the time, so like you say, it's still very young and sort of impressionable, and everything's must be quite daunting. But also, I've heard from former players that sort of they don't really aren't really fully aware of what's going on when they're playing at that age, and it sort of sometimes can pass them by, sort of.
Yeah, well, as I say, you know what I mean, you just want to play as a young kid. You've got no fear, you know what I mean. That I think if somebody told me today I was playing against Neil Ruddock tomorrow, that I'd be a little bit nervous, and I'd overthink things. But I remember the manager told me about 1:30, 1:45 that I was playing 3 o'clock kick-off, and the warm-up, got on with it, got myself ready for the game in the changing room. Didn't really feel that I was that nervous. Remember standing there watching and clapping Ian Rush, thinking, Ian Rush, you know, he's one of my heroes as a kid, and I'm on the same pitch as him, and you know that Neil Ruddock kicked me, he ground me down. I did some good things in the game, and I just try to enjoy every minute, because you know that you know, I think when you're older as well, that you try to tell young kids that try and enjoy every game, because you don't know if it's not going to be your last. You know that. Sure. At the time, I just didn't have any fear. I just went on to try to enjoy every minute, and you know what I mean, because games like at Anfield and at Old Trafford and Wembley and Millennium Stadium and things, you know what I mean, they don't come around very often, you know what I mean, at all for some people. So players wise, so you know what I mean, I wanted to make sure that I give it everything I had.
It must have been something special. So when you were playing for Middlesbrough to begin with, you had Bryan Robson as your manager. What was he like as the boss then?
The best way possible I could probably explain him, and you know, he probably won't mind me for saying this. He's probably like a father figure for me. You know what I mean? That I think he learnt off Sir Alex Ferguson at United about how to nurture young players, get them on loan, put them in at a young age, get them trained with the first team, and I loved it. I absolutely loved everything he threw at me, and loved his work ethic. You know what I mean? Loved his high standards. Obviously, didn't want to get on the wrong side of him, because he had an edge as well. You know, he wasn't scared to have a go. You know, 36, he'd still tell you if you weren't working hard enough or doing what he wanted you to do. So I liked that. It kept me on my toes, but also I knew he was Bryan Robson, and I knew that he was my hero. I'd watched England in World Cups. I'd seen him play for Man United. He's won everything. He's done everything, and now I'm working under him. So it doesn't get any better than that, really.
Was he as good as a player, sort of off the pitch when he was in training sessions? Could he sort of still have that?
Yeah. Well, one thing he used to do, when I first signed, we'd obviously train in the afternoon as well. So the first team would train in the morning, we'd train on the afternoon after a morning session, and he'd join in an afternoon with us. We did 5-a-side and just had a little bit of fun, and he'd join in with us, and you know, you wouldn't get the ball off him. He'd always want to win. He wouldn't care if he'd really get stuck into you, you know. And I really enjoyed that, and I took that throughout my career, really. That, You know what I mean? That you can be something else every time you walk over that white line. That you can be competitive, but as long as you're fair, and but you've got to have an edge. You know what I mean? You've got to have something different to somebody else, and you've got to want to win that game or that situation more than somebody else. And that's one thing I took from him. He was just a born winner, and you know what I mean. And every time he didn't win, he demanded more and more next time around.
Brilliant. He certainly, I think, could have been a contender definitely for the England manager's job about that sort of time when Venables left and before Hoddle came.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it probably would have been a flip of the coin out of the two. And, you know, I think if things didn't end the way they ended at Middlesbrough, I think he probably would have taken over.
Sure.
You know, obviously Steve McLaren got the England job a couple of years later just by having a couple of good seasons at Middlesbrough. So for me, Bryan would have been an ideal candidate, and I think he would have been ideal for that job. I think he would have been absolutely perfect because he could handle big players, big names. You know, so I think he would have been absolutely brilliant for that because he loves his country. He never shirked anything for his country. So
sure,
I think he would have been fab.
Brilliant. With Robson as manager, there was the relegation, and there was the incident where the club couldn't field a full sort of 11 at Blackburn, wasn't it?
Yeah. And, yeah.
What do you remember of that?
It's a mess. You know, it's never got any better. It's never got any easier. That basically relegated us and relegated the football club and took us to another level. Could we have played? Yes, of course we could have played because we could have threw all young lads in. Yeah. I was due to go. I was one of the ones who was in the squad. We didn't have a big squad if we were going to go. It was young kids, but we were told by the Premier League that we didn't have to go and we didn't have to play. So I think when you're told that you don't have to go and don't have to play, then you're going to listen. And you know what I mean. I think it was a mess, and you know it was handled really badly from both sides. And you know that it's obviously the players and the fans and the club who obviously got punished, but it's just not a nice situation. And we got the book thrown at us, which is not great. You know that. You know we could have gone to Blackburn, got beat 13-0 and stayed up. So you know what I mean. In hindsight, it was such a bad decision not to go.
It was bad publicity as well, I'd imagine, for the club. It didn't look too good for the club, but
well, for the Premier League point of view, you know, I think they've made a stand and made sure that nobody else did that again, and threw the book at us because we could have made us play the game.
Yeah,
because it didn't give us an opportunity to get those 3 points back because we got 3 points deducted, but we never played Blackburn again, so we could have gone to Blackburn and got those 3 points back, but we were never given the opportunity, which I think was he got kicked twice really for me there, so that's more disappointing as well.
Yeah, and then you left Middlesbrough and joined Cardiff for £1 million. That must have been something. Does the fee play on your mind at all, or is it must have been a lot of money?
Well, you know, at the time I left Middlesbrough because I wanted to play football. I'm not one of those players who just sits and just enjoys picking money up and not earning any more money. That I knew if I go to another club, I can get paid the same, if not more money. So I was happy to go and get games and happy to move and I knew a price tag was going to come with that. And did it bother me? Not really. No, I think other people throw it at you more than it bothered me. And
sure,
I think I remember my first training session at Cardiff, and we did a shooting session, and I missed a couple of shots, and I remember some of the lads laughing and joking, saying, £1 million, you know what I mean? Can we get our money back and blah blah blah? And you know, just a bit of fun, but. You know that nobody asks to be branded with those kind of figures, and you know what I mean. £1 million back in 2000 was a lot of money, and I probably was it overpriced, possibly, but you know what I mean. That you know what I mean. But prices of football players are just ridiculous, and you know what I mean. And probably nobody's worth that kind of money, but. It didn't bother me. I was quite proud and happy that it always follows you around. Really, a £1 million player that.
Definitely.
You know what I mean. I think it was just under, but I think it gets portrayed to be £1 million because of add-ons because Cardiff got promoted a couple of years later. So it was.
We'll just say it was £1 million.
That's what I do. It is about it's £1 million, man. So I'm happy with that.
Definitely.
Someone that follows you around, and no one can ever take it away. So
exactly.
I think both clubs. You know, Middlesbrough got money for a player who's not cost anything, and Cardiff got the money back through getting promoted later on. So I think it worked out really well for both clubs.
Definitely. So. The next question I was going to ask was about the fan base at Cardiff. They're known for being a passionate fan base.
Great. Extremely.
Time that they were playing at Ninian Park, so it's an old traditional ground. And you started really well. They scored 6 goals or something in the first few games, hat trick.
Yeah, the fans are amazing. The fans, it reminded me a little bit of Essen Park, Ninian Park. You know what I mean? But blue, everything was just, you know what I mean? It was standing like the whole gate behind the goal. The fans were passionate. It was a very old traditional stadium, and the fans are amazing. Very hostile, you know what I mean? But very easily to play for, because as long as you ran around, they give you the backing, and I was very happy with that, because I knew exactly what my style of play was, and I could excite them with my pace and scoring goals. So yeah, I got off to a really good start. Scored on my debut at Northampton. And then the following Saturday, I scored 2 against Blackpool at home on my home debut. So straight away, I think I've got the fans on my back and on my side. So I'm quite happy with that. And then I managed to get a hat-trick at Oldham in a 7-1 win a couple of weeks after. So with another goal in between. And, you know, I was really confident. I went there to play games and show people what I can do. So I was quite happy. That I was in my ability, that I could score goals, but I just needed to get that opportunity and to play, and I was loving it. And you know, I mean, I never really looked back really.
No, it must have been good starting off that sort of that part of your career on sort of on a scoring start. If you sometimes it takes players quite a few games to get into, but if you score early on, it's going to definitely help confidence wise.
Yeah, well, I think that did for me. You know, I think as a centre forward, you can go 5, 6, 7, maybe 10 games, and it bothers you. You know, I mean, you go into games worrying about scoring a goal or needing to score. Where when you don't need to score, that's when you seem to score, and then a goal happens again. And there's nothing better in a game when you score in the first 5, 10 minutes, because you've got another 80 minutes to add to that tally. And you know what I mean, when you get 2 before half time, like I did at Oldham, then you know what I mean. I'm so determined to go and get that 3, because there's nothing better than getting a hat trick.
And do you think confidence has a lot to play in a striker's? You know, as a striker, you need that confidence to prove yourself.
I think so. But I don't think you can use that as an excuse that why you're not scoring. You know that. You know, what I mean, as long as you keep working hard, I think chances will come. And then it's composure. It's it's just, you just need to keep putting the work in and the effort in, and chances will come, I believe. And you're only as good as the rest of your team and players. So you know, if players are keeping on believing in you and creating chances for you, then for me, goals will come.
And speaking of players, you had a good relationship with a former teammate, Chris Barker, who was at my club, Aldershot Town, for a while. He played for us. He was assistant manager, and later he was temporary manager for a while. What do you remember of Chris?
I've known Chris's brother. I knew Chris's brother, Richie, years ago when he was at Rotherham as a player, Hartlepool. So I've always known the family for quite a while, and I knew of Chris. I'd met Chris, and when Chris signed for Cardiff, Chris came to live with me until he got himself settled in his own place and things. And so I showed him around, because obviously there wasn't that many northern people at the time, and there wasn't really many people who could understand him. Apart from me, you know what I mean? Because he was obviously a very broad and proud Yorkshireman, so I remember him really well. We had some good nights out together. He was an awful cook, by the way. He was awful. He was disgusting. He was terrible. He cooked me pasta with tomato sauce on once. And tomato sauce. I mean Heinz tomato sauce as a sauce.
Oh wow!
Wow. And that was just him, though. It was funny, but yeah, he was going to be terribly missed. You know, it was so sad. I went to his funeral, and it was awful. It was, but I think people need to be made aware of the situations. I think everyone thought that he was so content with life. He had a young daughter. He was working for Forest Green in a job that, you know what I mean, I thought he loved, and you think his life's complete and his life's going in a direction that he's happy. But these things are obviously going on behind the scene in people's heads and people's minds, and make things do some awful things. And you know what I mean, he's a wonderful man, and you know what I mean, he was great. You know what I mean, I think, you know, the playoff final, I'll mention that that I think there's certain aspects of that day that I've really forgotten. And it was only when somebody showed me a picture, they sent me it via social media, and it was the celebrations after, and me and Chris have stood, well, jumping about like idiots after the game and hugging each other, and that's just the people we were. We got on really well on the pitch, but off the pitch we probably got on even better because of where we were from, and yeah, loved to drink together and socialise together, and he's massively missed from me. But yeah, so sad.
Well, we mentioned the playoff final there, and of course that was Was that the highlight of your time at Cardiff? You still...
Oh yeah. Of course, yeah. As I say, it was touch and go that I was going to be fit for the playoff final. I'd had an operation about 6 weeks before my groin, and I had that done just in case we got in the playoffs, and because we were having a bit of a tough time. So I needed it doing, because if I hadn't had it done, I certainly wouldn't have played in the final. So I think I was fit on the Thursday for training. We played on the Sunday, and so the way the game's going, it was a rubbish game. It was awful to watch from the side.
I was watching it on YouTube earlier.
Yeah, it was not a very good game. It was, they weren't very good on the day. We probably weren't much better, but we just cancelled each other out. And it was a game of a few chances. And I came on just about 15, 20 minutes of normal time. Didn't really get a look in normal time, but I knew with my attributes and my pace, and the longer the game went, that they'd tire and I'd get an opportunity. But when that opportunity came, I just had to make sure I was going to take it, and I did. I think 6 minutes to go in extra time, and I was starting to think same as everybody else, that where I was going to put my penalty, because penalties were looming. It would have been a nightmare to take a penalty in those kind of situation. But I was so happy when that ball at the net, the noise, the exterior, the players, myself, family. It was just brilliant, and obviously it was a massive highlight of my career, and something that I look back really fondly of.
So it must have been sort of quite a... What was going through your mind when you got the ball? Because there was a ball lobbed over the top. You chased it.
Ball lobbed over the top. Gareth Wally put it over the top. I think it was... I was just got ahead of Danny Shittu, who was marking me, and it just lofted up to... I probably wanted to bring it down under control and have a shot, but it just lofted back up. And as it lofted up, I seen Chris stay off his line, so I thought, he's coming behind me, Danny. So I thought, I'm going to have to have a shot, and just luckily enough, it was inch perfect over Chris Day's hand, and just a really, really unbelievable feeling for myself. And I say the noise that I'm saying that day was just incredible, and just something that one day I'll never forget. And one thing that the Cardiff fans said straight after that, we'll never forget this moment. And you think, of course you won't. It's just one of those things. But 17 years ago, well, I've said probably 17 years and 4 months or so, and people probably remember it more now than they did back 17 years ago. It's just crazy, and they say that it set the football club on the road that where they are now, and that fills me full of pride. That.
Yeah, it was definitely one of those moments, sort of at the time, that sort of did propel them up towards. It was their first time up in the second tier for several years, and the club were starting to move in the right direction at that point, and that promotion certainly did help them, and they've now spent time in the Premier League as well, and new stadium as well. So it must have been good fun playing there as well.
Listen, just like I say, playing at Wembley, Millennium Stadium, Hampden Park, Old Trafford, all these top stadiums, it doesn't happen very often. So when you do, you've got to savour it, you've got to enjoy it, and if you can win, then it doesn't get any better. That's why you go there and play those kind of games and things. So for me, massive highlight of my career.
I was watching when I was watching the playoff final, you did this strange celebration, sort of like this chin up celebration.
Yeah.
What was that about?
Well, I shared a room with my normal roommate. Was called Gethin Jones, and Geth got called into the manager's room in a hotel the day before the game, and was told that he wasn't sub. Which came back to the room. He was absolutely heartbroken, upset, and I tried to console him, tried to laugh and a joke, and just tried to cheer him up a little bit. And he asked me to do one thing for him, and his one thing was to do a celebration for him if I scored, and so he told me to do the chin up celebration to him. So I obviously knew he was sitting with my family, and obviously the where I went to celebrate, and when I did the chin up, he was sat with my family just in the top corner. So for me, there's sometimes these things are written in the stars, and he asked me to do it. I did it to him, to my family, right in the corner. So it was something that I was obviously privileged and proud to be able to do, to do something to a friend who still to this day is a very good friend of mine. And people go on about it, and it's just something I was lucky enough I was able to do for him.
Brilliant. Sort of chances sort of for first team football sort of became harder and harder to come by, and you went out on a few loan moves over the course of your career. You moved to Dunfermline in Scotland. What was it like playing up there?
Well, I'll go back to why leaving Cardiff first. At Cardiff, scoring that goal was probably a highlight of my career, but But it was probably the worst thing that happened to my Cardiff career. That, you know what I mean, they went to another level. They were bringing in new players. So, and like I said, you know, I'm not a player who's going to sit and not play. I needed to play. So I'd had a couple of loan moves. I went to Oxford, went to Doncaster. Didn't really interest me. And a chance to go to Scotland for a year came up, and so I went up there, not knowing much about it, the club and stuff, and I loved it. Didn't come back to Middlesbrough once while I was there, and it was probably a stone throw. It was probably the closest I've been to being back home, and loved it. Played against Celtic Rangers, played in the Scottish Cup final against Celtic, which we lost, but it was still an unbelievable experience. And just really enjoyed my time up there. Lived in Edinburgh, and it was just different lifestyle, different way of looking. I was obviously a little bit older, it was really a good time in my life, really.
And you said in the previous interview that you did for my blog that the players sort of always up themselves, like for the Old Firm games and the cup games as well. So it must have been special playing at Ibrox and Celtic Park and, like you say, Hampden Park for a cup final.
Yeah, playing against obviously the Old Firm was great. You know, you raise your game, of course you do. You know what I mean? But you also realise how good those kind of players are. That we played Celtic 2 weeks before in the league at home, and they beat us 8-1. So when you're playing in the cup final 2 weeks later, you're dreading it really. And
sure.
We got beat 3-0. We did really well. We played really well. I don't think we could have played much better. And, but they're just Roy Keane and John Hartson and players like Chris Sutton. You can't. This is just another level. You know, they're Premier League players, and you know, it's lovely to play there and be playing that kind of environment and that occasion. But results just don't get any easier against those kind of players.
Do you see maybe Celtic and Rangers coming down south at some point and maybe doing a different sort of Premier League with including them? Do you think that would be a good idea?
I wouldn't rule it out. I think they've got a fan base and size of the clubs which could compete in the Premier League. But do I think it's fair for them to go straight into the Premier League? Probably not, because teams like Middlesbrough and Cardiff and Blackburn Rovers and Leeds United, they're trying to get the Holy Grail season after season. So why should a team come straight in and gain promotion? So, you know what I mean? I think if they're going to do it, come in the Championship, earn your right to get to the Premier League, and then see what happens.
Sounds like a good idea. And then I was going to mention about your international career. I can see some caps behind you there that you've played in the under-21s a few times, 4 times.
Yeah, I was lucky. I've played 5 times. Went to the European Championships. I scored the winning goal in the Euro qualifier against Yugoslavia at Barcelona's mini stadium. With players like Emil Heskey, Lee Hendry, Frank Lampard, Stevie Gerrard, Rio Ferdinand. So we had we star-studded, full of world-class players at the time, and it was nice to represent my country. You know, I made my debut for England at the Riverside for the 21s, and I think I earned my chance to play. But I think sometimes I picked just to play and make the numbers up to try and get the fans on side because you played for Middlesbrough. But then I think I soon realised that I deserved to be in and played well and then played again. So I think sometimes that you look at the negatives instead of the positives, and I'm so proud. There's nothing better than standing there with the 3 lines on your chest with the national anthem and represent your country, because it's a pinnacle of your career and it's something that I've always dreamed of. I'm a big England fan when the World Cups and things come along. So I was proud to be able to do it.
And you sort of eventually, towards the end of your career, you moved down into the non-league. You played for, I remember certainly Halifax. There were Farsley, Celtic, and a couple of other teams. What were you sort of a marked man, so to speak, as an ex-Premier League player at all?
Yeah, well, I think that obviously that title, every time you sign for a new club, it's ex-Premier League, £1 million man signs for X, Y, and Z. And so that pressure comes with it straight away. And I think everyone's expecting to go and score 35, 40 goals, but I'm becoming older. I've had a lot of injuries. The legs aren't working as well as that they used to the previous years. I'd had a couple of serious injuries, and hence why I went to part-time, because my body wasn't able to train every day. So it was, you know what I mean? I was running out of options, really. So, but I still wanted to play. I still had an appetite to play. I still had a unfinished business for me, and I enjoyed the banter of the changing room. So I didn't really want to pack in, and just so I tried to play as long as I possibly could. And I tried every avenue, really.
And you tried management as well for a bit. What was that like, being a manager?
tough, different, very different, enjoyable. Can make your Saturday night or ruin your Saturday night depending on your result. It's it had its really, really highs, but it had its horrendous lows as well. And glad I tried it, glad I did it. But I don't think I'm going to try and get back into it in a hurry.
No, sure. The final thing that I was going to mention is you're doing your Andy Campbell podcast show at the moment. I think that over 200 episodes or something.
It's gone really well. We started it originally. We started it on the Championship. We went through all the games and the results and the players and teams and I got some feedback from people over social media. And then obviously lockdown came along. And we had a few Zoom conversations with the lad I do it with, and just thought, well, can we try something different? You know what I mean? We were both bored. We had loads of time on our hands, so we said, well, why don't we do a live show? Why don't we do it with live guests and do it and cover somebody's career? Obviously, like you're doing with myself now, and so we've been really lucky. We've had some unbelievable guests, and we've got some guests that I never ever dreamed I would ever get on coming up, which is great. And it's took off really well, and then obviously the Championship started again, so we've decided to add on an extra show on a Friday Night Live, just talking about the Championship and going through the fixtures and results, because I wanted to finish what I'd started, because I'd put in so much time and effort during the first 37 games or whatever it was, that I didn't want to just not do it. And the feedback from Friday night, which is our first show back, was great. And Monday shows, which are live, but Fridays is different, shorter. But I really enjoyed it, and it was nice just to talk about games, results, have my own opinion on things instead of just being the interviewer asking questions. Nice.
Yeah. Sort of being like a guest, sort of like a pundit as well as an interviewer.
Yeah, basically, yes. I've got the best of both at the minute. I've got, you know what I mean, I can be a pundit and give my opinion, but then I can do the interview, which I enjoy. I listen, on a Monday, I can sit looking at my screen and looking at the guest who's in front of me, thinking, wow, what a career you've had. You know what I mean? I'm just sat in awe, like a kid in a sweet shop, you know, like we had Charlie Adam on a couple of weeks ago, and he was just, last Monday, and he was just a breath of fresh air, you know, that he's had an unbelievable career, 34-year-old, still playing, international footballer, won things at Liverpool, scored a goal in the playoff final. It was just unbelievable. And
he's done the same, though.
Yeah, I know. Well, I know, but he's played. He's just. I don't know. I think sometimes you forget about yourself, and I'm just in awe. I'm a football fan as well, and it fills me full of excitement to see a professional footballer, because it's never in my wildest dreams when I started these podcasts that I thought I would have anybody on. Never mind people of the stature of him, for example, and Stewie Downing and people who have had. So it's been great, really.
It's the same as well for me with this blog, is the way that it's all progressed. It all started off sort of just an idea to see if I could write stuff, and it's ended up at the moment with the first video interview that I've done with you. So I'm very grateful for this. And I
think as well, if you've got a passion about something, then you know what I mean, it's going to work, because if you're excited about doing it and you've got an enjoyment about doing it, you're going to push it, and you're going to, you know what I mean, because if you don't, and like we said, if you don't push and try this, then it would work, and someone else does it, it's a regret. So at the minute it's working, so why not carry on? People enjoying it, so just do it, don't you? Just roll with it.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Andy. It's been great.
My pleasure, mate. Thanks for having me.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thanks, mate.